This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. If you're interested in these products, check out the links in the description. In this video, we are going to be talking about 4 gold finishes that we use on cakes, what we like best, and a little bit about what we use them all for. So we are going to start with a product that's called Glitter Glaze. I'm just going to show you how it goes on. Oh, try and get that to hit the light. So you can see it has a nice light coverage. There is just, if I get it at the right angle, a bit of show through for the white fondant on the back, but in general, it leaves you a nice light coating, right? Pretty even coverage, and it has a nice subtle kind of light gold sparkle. So I would say I really overall enjoy the color, I enjoy the product, and I enjoy its delivery method. So it's a lot like a lip gloss container. So I've had these for a bit, so you can see after a little bit you might notice it settles. There's nothing wrong with it, you just need to mix it up. And I found that the best way to do that is either by just tapping it gently or using the wand and pumping it to help redistribute the sparkly reflective particles that are in there. So just kind of like anything else, after a while those metallic flecks will settle a little bit. So you just want to make sure that it's well blended before you use it. And I found that too, if you let it dry and do a second coat, you can get much better coverage. And one thing that I really love about this is that it has these little applicator wands with the brushes, so it's a lot like lip gloss or anything of that kind of makeup nature. And the applicator is right there with the product and ready to go. So I often bring these with me in case I need touch-ups on site, even if I've used a different product to originally finish the cake with, just because it comes in a set of 3 and you have gold, silver, and pearl. So it's a great thing to have on hand, even if you don't use it regularly, for on-site touch-ups if you're doing deliveries of wedding cakes. I'm just lightly coating this square a second time, just so you can see it gives you a more even coverage. And I did all of these on samples of white fondant, so that it would be a little easier to see that show through. You see now it has much more even, thicker, fuller coverage. And if you use a slightly yellow or gold toned fondant, so think add a little lemon yellow, little brown, it'll get rid of a lot of that and you'll just really see the sparkle because you won't see white behind it, and it'll help deepen and make the gold a richer color. And that's true for all of these. The second one is a metallic food paint. And you can see with a single coverage, it really does give you a much more even coating. The product itself is actually quite thick, so you can see it does kind of leave some noticeable streaks. And it has a nice, shiny, I would say kind of satin finish, metallic finish to it. But the one thing that I don't enjoy as much about these products is it gives it a very yellow tone. So it's almost a little orangey. It's not my favorite gold finish, but sometimes it is useful. Like if I'm trying to make pirate gold or something of that nature where I want it to be a little more orange and maybe a little more comical, or I want a different tone to the gold, sometimes this is exactly what I want. So I always keep some on hand. They come in these little bottles, easy resealable little screw top. You will though need your own little paint brushes to get in there, right? And a little goes a long way. And if I usually go over it a second time, I can get just a little more shine and a slightly more even finish. With all of these products, it's important to let them dry completely before you do second coatings. That'll keep you from disturbing your initial one. This one, because it's a little thicker, takes a little longer to dry out, so I can see where it was a little thicker over there, it kind of disturbed it a little bit. But you can see even doing that, it tones down some of the lines that were in that and gives me a nice even coating, right? And so it's a nice, very yellowy gold. And this one, it also comes in a second darker gold finish that I would say is a little bit more of a coppery bronze color. So there's a couple of different values of gold paint that are available there, and you can try some of the different ones. This third one is edible glitter. And you can see, you can get a lot of show through the background. So coloring your fondant so it's already kind of a base brown or gold color is really helpful. But a lot of times I also use this on top of one of the paints. So if I'm looking for a really reflective sparkle, I'll dust some of this edible glitter on top of one of my other finishes, and it helps just kind of add a lot more sparkle to it. It's very easy to use. They actually come in little containers, and there's typically a little sprinkle top on there, or you can open it up and just use a nice big kind of powder style brush to just tap it on top of a surface. The surface will need to be wet, so if you're not already using an edible paint, just lightly spraying the outside with an alcohol that'll evaporate quickly before you tap it on will help it adhere to the side of the cake. And probably my favorite, so I saved it for last, is highlighter gold. So you can see it down there. It's that beautiful gold metallic square that literally looks like a bar of gold. This is a powder. We buy the biggest size we can find because we go through a lot. You can see it looks like gold dust in there, right? So it's a really nice fine powder. It gives a really, really reflective finish, and it's really, really beautiful. There's a couple of different edible dusts like this, various luster dusts you can get in different kind of shades of gold. But if you're looking for that super high impact, sparkly, looks like molten gold dripping off of a cake kind of look, this is what you want to use. And you can tell I go through a lot of it. I buy the really big jar. It comes in the smaller powder containers, and I've actually saved one of them, and I use it to mix my paint in. Anytime I'm mixing paint, I want it to be relatively thick. You want a lot of gold in there, so it should look sparkly, like melted gold on the end of your paintbrush, and that's going to give you really good coverage. And I'm dissolving it in a clear alcohol that's flavorless. So I've used vodka. You could use Everclear or any other kind of flavorless spirit. The higher the alcohol content, the faster it'll evaporate off of the cake, meaning there's less chance, especially if you're painting on fondant or something like that, that it's gonna get gummy. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if you're using anything like an extract, just be careful. Obviously, if you wanna use something that's clear, like almond or lemon, but those are going to impart flavor. So you have to be careful about how many times you go over it. So I tend to prefer to use something like vodka because it just evaporates with leaving no taste behind. And you can see it only really took one solid, thick, good coating. And I got a really, really great solid coverage on that, right? So there's just tiny, tiny bits of show through, but not enough that I would really even want to go over it and disturb this beautiful finish because it's set really, really well. So just having a background color to my fondant or the buttercream I'm painting on top of will make sure that there's no show through and you get a beautiful, beautiful finish. And depending on how you mix your paint, you might need to let it set and go over it a second time. But if you mix it really, really well, it'll almost do the job the first time around and you get this almost shiny bar of gold or melted gold effect. And it's just incredibly beautiful and something that little rabbit, we pull out of our magic hat quite often. So all of these are great buys. They all have great uses. This is probably the one, the highlighter gold, that we use the most often. So it's just something to look into, something fun to play around with. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to find more about cake decorating, the materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational ideas about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like more information on yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to our site at www.cakedecoratingschool.com. And if you're interested in any of these products, you can check out the links in the description.